Welcome back to Emma's Stories, where love finds a way through the toughest storms. Today, we're diving into a tale that starts with a spark of vengeance, but ends in a glow of something far sweeter. Picture this: a woman named Ava Bennett, standing alone in a quiet cemetery, the wind tugging at her coat as she stares at her father's gravestone. Her voice is steady, but her eyes burn with a promise. Revenge is a fire that can consume everything, except sometimes the heart itself. This is Ava's story, a journey shaped by loss and a vow to set things right. Ava is 28, a bank teller living in Denver, Colorado. She's the kind of person who blends into the crowd: dark hair pulled back, a polite smile for customers, and a life that feels like it's on autopilot. But beneath that calm surface, there's a wound that never healed. 10 years ago, her father, Henry Bennett, was her world. He was a small-time businessman with big dreams, always tinkering with inventions in their garage, laughing with Ava over late-night ice cream. She can still hear his voice saying, "Kiddo, one day we'll build something unstoppable." But that dream crumbled when his business partner betrayed him. Henry trusted Richard Sullivan, a slick-talking entrepreneur with a smile that hid a knife. Richard promised to fund Henry's latest project, a renewable energy gadget that could have changed their lives. Instead, he stole the patents, drained the company accounts, and left Henry with nothing. Ava remembers the day it all fell apart. Her father sitting at the kitchen table, head in his hands, papers scattered like fallen leaves. He didn't yell or fight. He just broke. A month later, a heart attack took him, and Ava's mother whispered through tears, "It was the stress, honey. He couldn't take it." Ava was 18 then, old enough to understand loss, young enough to feel it like a punch. Now, standing by that gravestone, she clutches a folder of old documents she found in her dad's study. Yellowed pages, scribbled notes, proof that Richard rigged the deal to ruin Henry. Her fingers tighten as she reads his name over and over. Richard Sullivan, the man who stole her father's life and walked away richer for it. She kneels, pressing a hand to the cold stone, and whispers, "I'll make him pay, Dad. Every tear you shed, I'll turn into his regret." Her voice cracks, but her resolve hardens. She's not just grieving anymore. She's planning. Ava's life since then has been quiet, too quiet. She works at the bank, counts other people's money, and goes home to a small apartment with a single plant she keeps forgetting to water. Friends invite her out, but she declines, always with an excuse. They don't know she spends her nights digging into Richard Sullivan's world, his company, his wealth, his family. She's not sure what she'll do when she finds a way in, but she knows one thing: he'll feel the weight of what he took from her. It's not about money anymore. It's about justice, about giving her father's story an ending he deserves. So here we are, at the start of something raw and real. Ava's not a hero or a villain. She's a daughter with a broken heart and a plan taking shape. What happens when revenge meets something stronger? Stick around, because this story's just beginning, and trust me, you won't see the ending coming. Let's find out together. So Ava Bennett has a mission now, a fire lit by her father's memory and fueled by 10 years of quiet anger. She's not storming into Richard Sullivan's office with a megaphone. No, Ava's smarter than that. She's patient, like a chess player studying the board, and after months of digging, she finds her opening. Richard has a son, Noah Sullivan, 30 years old, the golden boy running Sullivan Enterprises. If she's going to hit Richard where it hurts, Noah's the key. She doesn't know him yet, but she knows enough. He's the heir, the future, the one thing Richard can't afford to lose. Ava sits at her desk late one night, laptop glowing, and mutters, "Time to get close, Noah. Real close." Noah's a name that pops up in business magazines, always with a photo: sharp jawline, dark eyes that don't quite smile, suit tailored to perfection. He's the CEO, took over at 27 when Richard stepped back to play golf and count his millions. Ava studies him like a textbook. He lives alone in a penthouse downtown, no wife, no scandals, just work. People call him cold, brilliant, a machine in a tie. But Ava doesn't care about rumors. She needs an in. Then she sees it. A job posting. Sullivan Enterprises wants a personal assistant for the CEO. She smirks. Perfect. She polishes her resume, fakes a few references, and applies. 2 weeks later, she's sitting across from Noah in his sleek office, 40 floors above Denver. The interview is quick, too quick. Noah leans back in his chair, scanning her file, then looks up. "Why should I hire you?" His voice is low, steady, like he's testing her. Ava meets his gaze, heart pounding but face calm. "Because I'll make your life easier," she says, "and maybe more interesting." She adds a small smile, just enough to catch his eye. He tilts his head, studying her for a beat too long, then nods. "Start Monday." That's it. No handshake, no chit-chat. He's back to his papers before she's out the door. Ava exhales in the elevator, thinking, step 1, done. He doesn't even know what's coming. Monday rolls around, and Ava steps into her role. She's good at it. Too good. She organizes Noah's schedule, brings him coffee before he asks, handles calls with a crisp efficiency that makes his days smoother. He notices. "You're quick," he says one morning, not looking up from his laptop. "Thanks," she replies, keeping it short. She's not here to chat, she's here to watch. And Noah's not what she expected. He's not loud or cruel like Richard. He's quiet, almost too quiet. He works late, scribbling notes in a leather journal, sipping black coffee at midnight. His office is all glass and steel, but there's a photo on his desk. Him and a dog, long gone. It's the only soft thing in the room. Ava needs more than coffee runs to get under his skin. She starts small, testing him. One day, she accidentally bumps his arm, spilling his coffee across his desk. "Oh no, I'm so sorry," she gasps, grabbing napkins. He doesn't snap. He just sighs, waves it off. "It's fine, happens." She insists on buying him a replacement, dragging him to the cafe downstairs. They sit for 10 minutes, her asking, "How do you survive on caffeine alone?" He smirks. A rare crack in his wall. "Habit. What about you? What keeps you going?" Ava freezes, then shrugs. "Family, I guess." It's not a lie, just not the whole truth. He nods, like he gets it, and for a second she feels something. Guilt, maybe? She shakes it off. That night, alone in her apartment, Ava replays the moment. Noah's smirk, his voice, the way he looked at her like she wasn't just a shadow in his orbit. She pulls out her father's folder, flipping to a photo of him smiling, and whispers, "This is for you, Dad, not him." But her hands tremble. She's in now, closer than she planned. Noah's not a monster, not yet. He's a man who doesn't laugh much, who carries his own weight, and Ava's starting to see it. She tells herself it doesn't matter. He's a Sullivan. He's the target. But as she falls asleep, his face lingers, and she wonders if she's ready for what's next. Ava Bennett's plan is rolling now, smooth as a train on tracks. She's in Noah Sullivan's world, his office, his life, and every day she's chipping away at the wall he's built around himself. It's been a month since she started as his assistant, and she's not just filing papers anymore. She's studying him, learning his rhythms, finding the cracks. Her goal is simple: get close enough to hurt him, to hurt Richard through him. But the closer she gets, the harder it is to keep her heart out of it. And that's a problem she didn't see coming. It starts small, deliberate. One afternoon, Noah's buried in reports, tie loosened, looking like he hasn't slept in days. Ava sets a homemade lunch on his desk, chicken salad, a slice of bread, nothing fancy. "You work too hard," she says, casual but soft. He glances up, surprised. "What's this?" "Food," she replies with a shrug. "You can't live on coffee." He stares at the plate, then at her, and takes a bite. "Not bad," he mutters. She smiles, sitting across from him. "Tell me something. What's it like running all this?" He leans back, chewing slowly. Heavy. Dad expects perfection, always has. His voice dips, and Ava catches a flicker of something raw. She files it away. Noah doesn't love his father's shadow. Good to know. That moment shifts things. Noah starts talking more, not much, but enough. He asks her opinion on a contract one day, listens when she suggests a tweak. Smart, he says, and she feels a jolt of pride she shouldn't. She pushes it down. This isn't about liking him, it's about winning him. So she ramps it up. Late nights at the office turn into shared takeout, her laughing at his dry jokes, him asking about her weekend plans. She lies smoothly. Oh, just reading boring stuff. He doesn't need to know she's plotting his family's downfall over coffee and old files. Then comes the rain. It's a Friday, pouring outside, and Ava misses her bus. Noah finds her at the lobby door, soaked, cursing under her breath. "Come on," he says, keys jangling. "I'll drive you," she protests weakly. But he's already leading her to his car, a sleek black thing that smells like leather and him. The ride is quiet at first, wipers slicing through the storm. Then he says, "You're always so composed. Ever lose it?" She laughs. "Sometimes. You?" He grips the wheel tighter. "More than I'd admit." At her apartment he parks, turns off the engine and looks at her. His hand brushes hers on the seat, lingers. "Thanks," she whispers, pulse racing. "For the ride." He nods, but neither moves. Then he pulls back and she's out the door, heart pounding. This is the plan, she tells herself in the mirror later, but her reflection looks unsure. 3 months in, it happens. Noah's different now, softer around her. He starts waiting for her after work, walking her to her car, saying things like, "You make this place bearable." Ava's stomach twists every time, guilt and something else tangling together. She's got him where she wants him. Hooked. So she pushes the final step. One evening he's stressed, pacing about a deal gone sour. She touches his arm, gentle. "You are enough, Noah. More than enough." He stops, looks at her like she's air after drowning, and kisses her. It's sudden, desperate, and she kisses back before she can think. When they pull apart, he's breathing hard. "I've wanted that too long," he says. She nods, dazed. "Me too." It's not a lie, and that scares her. A week later, he takes her to the Millennium Bridge, Denver's lights sparkling below. The air's crisp, and he's nervous, hands in his pockets. "Ava," he starts, "you're my light. I didn't know I needed one till you." He pulls out a ring, drops to one knee. "Marry me." Her breath catches. The diamond glints. His eyes plead, and every part of her plan screams, yes. But her heart's screaming too, for a different reason. "Yes," she says, voice shaking. He slides the ring on, pulls her into his arms, and the crowd claps. She's smiling, tears prickling, thinking, "I've got him. Step 1, complete." The wedding's a blur, lavish and loud in a Denver cathedral. Ava's in white, Noah's in black, and the vows feel heavier than she expected. "I promise to stand by you," he says, voice thick. She echoes it, meaning it more than she should. Richard's there, smug in the front row, clapping like he owns the day. Ava meets his gaze, thinking, enjoy it while it lasts. But as Noah kisses her, soft and sure, her resolve wavers. She's his wife now, and he's hers. That night, alone in their suite, he whispers, "You're my everything." She buries her face in his chest, whispering back, "You too." It's true, and it's terrifying. Ava Bennett wakes up as Ava Sullivan in a sprawling house just outside Denver, a place with high ceilings and windows that catch the morning sun. The bed's too big, the sheets too soft, and Noah's already gone, leaving a note on her pillow. "Early meeting, coffee's on. You're my home." She traces the words with her finger, a smile tugging at her lips before she catches herself. This isn't supposed to feel good. She's here to ruin him, to ruin Richard through him. But the note stays in her pocket all day, a quiet weight she can't shake. They've been married a week, and Ava's still adjusting. Noah insists she quit the assistant job. "You're my wife now," he says over dinner, pouring her wine. "Let me take care of you." She nods, but her mind races. Quitting means more time to dig, to strike. So she agrees, moves into his world fully. The house is all wood and glass, a mix of modern and warm, with a fireplace he lights every night. He shows her the guest room, now hers to redecorate. "Make it yours," he says, handing her a credit card. She laughs. "What if I painted pink?" He grins. "I'd live with it." That grin does something to her, something she doesn't want to name. The first gift comes a day later. Noah walks in, tie loose, holding a small box. Inside is a silver necklace, a tiny pendant engraved with "Forever." He clasps it around her neck, fingers brushing her skin. "I saw it and thought of you," he says, voice low. "I never thought I'd find this. You." Ava's throat tightens. She manages "It's beautiful" and kisses him, soft at first, then deeper. He pulls her close, and for a moment she forgets why she's here. But at night, alone in the study, she opens her laptop, logs into his work account with a password she memorized months ago, and starts. She sends encrypted files to a rival company, little leaks that'll cost Sullivan Enterprises millions. It's easy, too easy, and her hands shake as she hits send. Noah notices the fallout a week later. He comes home late, face drawn, tossing his briefcase on the couch. "Someone's sabotaging us," he says, pouring a drink. "Stocks down, deals are falling through." Ava sits beside him, heart pounding. "Who'd do that?" she asks, voice steady. He shrugs. "No idea. It hurts, though. Feels personal." She rests a hand on his, guilt clawing at her. "You'll fix it. You always do." He squeezes her hand, leans his head on her shoulder. "Thanks to you. You keep me sane." She forces a smile, but inside she's breaking. This isn't what she planned. The days blur into something sweeter than she expected. One night, Noah pulls her into the kitchen, music playing soft on the radio. "Dance with me," he says, taking her hand. She laughs. "I'm terrible." He spins her anyway, slow and clumsy, their socks sliding on the tile. "You're perfect," he murmurs, forehead against hers. Another evening they sit on the porch, rain tapping the roof. He wraps a blanket around them, talks about his mom, gone too young, how he's scared of losing people. Ava listens, shares a story about her dad teaching her to fish. "He'd have liked you," she says, then stops, realizing it's true. Noah kisses her temple and she feels it, love creeping in like a thief. But the plan doesn't stop. She leaks more, bigger contracts now, and the company stumbles. Noah's stress grows, lines etching his face. She hates seeing it, hates causing it. One morning he's on the phone, pacing. "I don't know who's doing this, Ava. It's killing us." She hugs him from behind, whispers, "You're stronger than this." He turns, holds her tight. "I need you," he says, and her chest aches. She's winning, but it doesn't feel like victory. Richard shows up unannounced one Sunday, all charm and venom. He sips coffee in their living room, eyes on Ava. "You're settling in nicely," he says, smirking. "Noah's lucky." She nods, polite, but her skin crawls. Later he corners Noah in the hall. "She's not what she seems, son. Watch her." Noah laughs it off. "She's my wife, Dad. Back off." Richard leaves, but his words linger. Ava overhears, panic rising. She's careful, but not invisible. That night she stares at Noah sleeping, his arm across her waist. "What am I doing to you?" she whispers, tears slipping down her cheek. She's too deep, and the cracks are showing. Noah wakes, sees her crying. "Hey, what's wrong?" He pulls her close, voice soft. "Talk to me." She shakes her head, buries her face in his chest. "Just a bad dream." He holds her tighter, and she knows she's not just breaking him. She's breaking herself, too. Ava Sullivan's world is tilting, and she's the one pushing it off balance. She's been married to Noah for 2 months now, living in his house, wearing his ring, leaking his company's secrets. Sullivan Enterprises is crumbling, stock plummeting, headlines screaming sabotage. Noah comes home every night, a little more worn, eyes shadowed, but he still kisses her cheek, still says, "You're my anchor." Ava smiles, nods, and hates herself. She's winning her war against Richard. But the cost is Noah, and that cost is starting to feel too high. She lies awake beside him, listening to his steady breathing, wondering when it'll all crash down. It happens on a Tuesday, gray and cold. Noah's at the office and Ava's in the basement, sorting through old boxes he asked her to organize. She's not looking for trouble, just moving stuff around. When she finds it, a leather journal, edges worn, tucked under a stack of tax files, she flips it open, curious, and sees Richard's handwriting, sharp and slanted, pages of notes, dates, deals. Then she stops, a date from 10 years ago, her father's name, Henry Bennett. Her hands tremble as she reads. Bennett's out, patents secured. He's weak, won't fight. Company's mine. Richard brags about it, every word a knife. Fool trusted me, broke him in a month. Ava's breath catches, tears blurring the ink. She knew he did it, but seeing it here, so cold, so proud, rips her open. She's still sitting there, journal in her lap, when Noah comes home early. He calls her name, finds her in the dim basement light. "Eva, what's wrong?" He kneels beside her, sees the book, her face. "What is that?" She can't speak, just hands it to him, pointing at the page. He reads, slow at first, then faster, his jaw tightening. "This is Dad's," he says, voice flat. "Henry Bennett. Why's that name hitting you like this?" Ava looks at him, tears spilling. "He was my father, Noah. Your dad killed him. Not with a gun, with greed. Took everything and left us with nothing." Her voice breaks. He died because of it. Noah sits back, stunned, journal slipping to the floor. "Your father?" he repeats, like he's piecing it together. "Ava, why didn't you tell me?" She stands, pacing, words tumbling out. "Because I married you to hurt him, to hurt you. I've been leaking your deals, ruining your company. It's all for him, for my dad." She's crying hard now, hands shaking. "But I didn't expect this. I didn't expect to love you." Noah's face changes, shock giving way to something softer. He stands, steps closer. "You love me?" She nods, choking on it. "Yes, and I hate myself for it. I'm sorry." He doesn't yell, doesn't push her away. He pulls her into his arms, tight, like she might vanish. "I'm sorry," he says into her hair, "for what he did, for what you've been carrying." Ava clings to him, sobbing. "I've destroyed you." He shakes his head. "You haven't. We're still here." He pulls back, cups her face. "I don't care about the company. I care about you. Let me fix this with you." She stares, disbelieving. "You don't hate me?" "No," he says, fierce. "I love you. We'll figure it out." They sit on the basement floor, journal between them, and talk. Noah's voice is steady, determined. "Dad's done worse than I knew. I've suspected it, but this, it's proof." Ava wipes her eyes. "I wanted him to pay." Noah nods. "He will, legally. We'll sue him, use this. Together." She hesitates, then agrees. A weight lifting. They spend hours planning, digging through more files, building a case. Noah's hand stays on hers, grounding her. "I'd rather lose everything than lose you," he says late into the night. She squeezes his hand, whispering, "Me too." But Richard's not blind. The next day he calls Noah, voice smooth as oil. "Your wife's clever. Stocks are tanking. Coincidence?" Noah keeps it cool. "No idea what you're talking about, Dad." Richard laughs. "You'll see. Both of you." He hangs up and Noah tells Ava, face grim, "He knows something. We need to move fast." She nods, fear mixing with resolve. They're a team now, but Richard's shadow looms. That night, Noah pulls her close in bed. "Whatever happens, I've got you," he says. She buries her face in his chest, feeling safe, feeling scared. "I've got you too," she whispers. The fight's coming, and they're not ready, not yet. Ava and Noah Sullivan are no longer playing separate games. They are united now, armed with Richard's journal and a plan to take him down through the courts. It's been a week since Noah found the truth, a week of late nights poring over documents, calling lawyers, building a case to reclaim what Richard stole from Ava's father and make him pay. The house feels different, less like a battlefield and more like a refuge. Noah cooks breakfast, eggs and toast, and Ava teases him about burning the edges. He laughs, pulls her into a hug. "We're in this together," he says, and she believes him. But the air's heavy with what's coming. Richard's not the type to lose quietly. It starts with a phone call on a Thursday afternoon. Noah's at the office, Ava's home sorting evidence, when his name flashes on her screen. "Hey," he says, voice tight. "Dad just left. He's on to us. Said we'll regret it." Ava's stomach drops. "What did you say?" "Told him he's imagining things. He didn't buy it." She grips the phone. "We need to finish this fast." Noah agrees, promises to be home soon, but soon doesn't come. Hours pass, dusk settles, and he's not back. Ava paces, calls him, gets voicemail, panic creeps in. Then the doorbell rings. She opens it, expecting Noah, but it's a man she doesn't know, tall, scarred in a dark coat. "Of a Sullivan?" he asks, voice flat. Before she can answer, he grabs her, a cloth over her mouth. She fights, kicks, but the world blurs, and she's out. When she wakes, she's in a cold, dim room, a warehouse, hands tied to a chair. The man's there, silent, checking his phone. Ava's head pounds, fear sharp. "Where am I?" she demands. He doesn't answer. Then Richard walks in, suit pristine, smiling like he's won. "Comfortable," he says. She glares. "What do you want?" He steps closer. "You and Noah think you're clever. I know what you're doing. Stop it, or this gets worse." Her phone buzzes in his hand. It's Noah. Richard answers, puts it on speaker. "Dad?" Noah's voice is frantic. "Where's Ava?" Richard chuckles. "Safe, for now. Sign over the company, Noah, all of it, or she's gone." Ava shouts, "Don't do it, Noah. He's bluffing." Richard slaps her, hard, and she tastes blood. Noah's voice breaks. "Let her go. I'll sign. Just don't hurt her." Richard smirks. "Smart boy. Meet me at the warehouse on 5th. 1 hour. He hangs up, looks at Ava. Love makes you weak. He'll learn that. Time drags. Ava's wrists raw from the ropes. She yells at Richard, "You'll lose everything for this." He laughs. "I've lost nothing yet." Headlights flash outside. A car door slams. Noah bursts in, alone, papers in hand. "Here," he says, tossing them at Richard. "Signed. Let her go." His face is bruised, like he's been hit already, but his eyes lock on Ava, fierce. Richard scans the documents, nods to the man. "Untie her." The ropes drop and Ava stumbles to Noah. He catches her, holds her tight. "You okay?" he whispers. She nods, tears hot. "You shouldn't have come." Richard interrupts, waving the papers. "Touching. You've got nothing left now, son." Noah pulls Ava behind him, facing his father. "I've got her. That's enough." Richard sneers, signals the man. "Finish him." The scarred guy lunges, fist raised, and Noah takes the hit, staggering. Ava screams, "Stop!" She grabs a metal pipe from the floor, swings it at the man's legs. He falls, cursing, but Richard pulls a gun, aims at Noah. "Enough games," he says. Noah shoves Ava aside, steps forward. "Shoot me then. Leave her out of it." Richard's finger tightens, and Ava's heart stops. Sirens blare, sudden and loud. Red and blue lights flood the warehouse. Cops swarm in, shouting, "Drop it!" Richard freezes, gun shaking, then drops it as they cuff him. The scarred man's down too, tackled. Ava runs to Noah, who's bleeding from his lip, and throws her arms around him. "How?" she gasps. He wipes blood with his sleeve, grins faintly. "Called them before I came. Knew he'd pull something." She laughs through tears, kissing him hard. "You idiot, I love you." He kisses back, shaky. "Love you too." The cops drag Richard out, his voice fading as he yells, "This isn't over!" But it is. Noah sinks to the floor, pulling Ava with him. "You're safe," he says, voice rough. She touches his face, bruised and beautiful. "We're safe," he nods, leaning into her hand. Outside, the night's chaos fades, but inside they hold on, a lifeline in the wreckage. The warehouse fades into memory as Ava and Noah Sullivan step out into a new dawn. Richard's gone, hauled off in handcuffs, his threats echoing uselessly behind him. Sullivan Enterprises is a husk now, signed away to save Ava. Its offices shuttered, its name tarnished. The cops found more in his files: fraud, blackmail, enough to lock him up for years. Noah doesn't care. He sits with Ava in their Denver home that night, ice on his bruised face, her hand in his. "It's over," he says, voice quiet. She nods, resting her head on his shoulder. "Yeah, finally." The silence is soft, heavy with what they've survived. But they don't stay in that house long. Too many ghosts, too much of Richard's shadow. A week later, they pack what matters, sell the rest, and move to Boulder, an hour away. It's a fresh start, a small house with a porch and a view of the Flatirons, mountains cutting the sky. Noah finds work consulting, small gigs, nothing like the empire he lost. Ava takes a job at a local bank, counting money again, but this time it feels lighter. They're not rich anymore, but they're free. At night, they cook together, simple meals, laughing when the pasta boils over. "We're terrible at this," she says, and he kisses her forehead. "We're perfect at this." Time heals the jagged edges. One evening, 3 months after the warehouse, they're walking by a lake near their new home. The water's still, reflecting a sky streaked with pink and gold. Noah's quiet, hands in his pockets, then stops. "Ava," he says, turning to her. She looks up, curious. He pulls out a ring, simple silver, no diamond this time. "Marry me again," he says, voice low, steady. "Not for revenge, not for anything but us." He kneels, eyes locked on hers. "I want forever, the real kind." Ava's breath catches, tears welling fast. She thinks of her dad, of the pain that brought her here, and how it's led to this. "Yes," she whispers, pulling him up. "Forever this time." He slips the ring on, and they kiss, slow and sure, the lake a witness to their vow. The second wedding is small, nothing like the first. It's in their backyard, a handful of friends, the justice of the peace. Ava wears a sundress, Noah's in a plain shirt, sleeves rolled up. They say their own vows, no script. "I promise to fight for you," he says, voice breaking a little. "Every day," she smiles through tears. "I promise to trust you, to love you, always." They laugh when the ring gets stuck, cheer when it's on. The sun sets as they dance barefoot on the grass. Music from a phone, just them and the stars. It's not grand, but it's theirs. Months pass, and life settles into something steady, sweet. Ava plants flowers along the porch, red and yellow blooms she waters every morning. Noah builds a bench for the yard, sanding it smooth with a grin. "For us," he says, patting it. They sit there one night, wrapped in a blanket, watching the moon climb high. He pulls her close, arm around her waist. "Happy?" he asks, voice soft. She nods, leaning into him. "More than I thought I could be." She thinks of her father, imagines him smiling somewhere, proud not just of the fight, but of this, her peace. "Dad would have liked you," she says, looking up. Noah squeezes her hand. "I'd have liked him too." They talk about the future, sometimes. Kids, maybe. A dog, for sure. Ava's necklace, the one he gave her, still hangs around her neck, forever glinting in the light. She catches him staring at her one morning, coffee in hand. "What?" she asks, brushing hair from her face. He smiles, small and real. "Just you." "You're everything," she blushes, swats his arm. "Stop it." But she feels it too. A love that's grown from ashes, stronger for it. They're not perfect. They argue over dishes, forget anniversaries, but they hold on, always. That night by the lake lingers in Ava's mind as she stands with Noah, hands clasped, staring at the water again. The sunset paints them in gold, and she whispers, "He'd be proud of us." Noah nods, pulling her against him. "Yeah, we made it." They stay there, quiet, the past behind them, the future wide open. Revenge brought her to him, but love kept her there. And that's the story they'll tell someday, one of fire turned to light. And so, Ava and Noah Sullivan found their way, not through the plans they made, but through the love they stumbled into. Ava set out to destroy a legacy, to burn Richard's world to the ground for what he took from her father. She walked into Noah's life with a match in her hand, ready to light it. But somewhere along the way, that fire turned into something else, a warmth that rebuilt her soul instead of breaking it. They lost a fortune, a company, a past heavy with shadows, but they gained each other, and that was enough. Sometimes, the heart finds peace in the ashes of revenge, a truth they learned together. Picture them now, standing by that lake in Boulder, the water catching the last light of day. Their hands are clasped, rings glinting, and the air is quiet, full of promise. Ava's not a daughter seeking justice anymore. She's a wife, a partner, a woman who found a home she didn't expect. Noah's not a son carrying his father's weight. He's a man who chose love over everything else. Their story isn't perfect, but it's real, and it's theirs. That's what we leave you with today on Emma Stories, a tale of vengeance that became a vow, of two people who turned pain into something beautiful. What do you think? Can love heal even the deepest wounds? Can it rewrite a story that started in hate? We'd love to hear your thoughts, so drop them in the comments below. If this moved you, hit that like button, share it with someone who needs a little hope, and subscribe for more. Life's messy, but love finds a way. Thanks for being here with us. Until next time, keep believing in the unexpected.